everyone, and welcome to the Season 1, Episode 6 of the Applied AG Squaring the Circle debate. This is already our final debate for the year 2020. My name is Mandy Mock, and I'm the founder and CEO of Applied AG. Applied AG is the new kid on the block as an international higher education service provider that specializes in evaluation, branding, and professional networking solutions. Today's Squaring the Circle debate with emotion, the COVID-19 pandemic will be largely forgotten by 2022, is hosted by the City University of Hong Kong and led by the legendary debate master, Dr. Kevin Downey, who is the Secretary to Council and Court and Director of the Institutional Research Office. Kevin will be guiding today's debate with 4 outstanding speakers from different parts of the world, whom he will shortly introduce to all of you. For the series of Squaring the Circle debate, please allow me to thank the City University of Hong Kong for co-hosting and Airlangga University from Indonesia for being the main sponsor. Now, without further ado, allow me to hand over to the very capable and always entertaining Dr. Kevin Downey.
Hi. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Applied HE Squaring the Circle debate, the last one of 2020. I guess most of us will be very happy to see the end of 2020 and hope for better things for the world in 2021. I'd like just to, before I welcome the panelists and introduce them, I'd just like to welcome our attendees, some of whom are serial offenders. They've been here before. It's really nice to have them back, and I can see you all chatting and saying greetings and hello, and I'd like to send my greetings. I know Talat has already done it, 1 or 2 other people, Benny, and so on. So I'm glad you could join us. Okay, the format for the debate, just before I introduce the speakers, I will initially give you an opportunity to vote on the motion. The motion is the COVID-19 pandemic will be largely forgotten by 2022. Remember, that's not next year, but the year after next. We've had some good news in the UK today that the regulatory authority has approved the Pfizer vaccine, and we're hoping in the next 2 days to hear about 1 or 2 other vaccines being approved by them as well. So hopefully this will be rolled out very quickly to the benefit of all of us wherever we are in the world. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce a very distinguished and globalized panel of experts who are going to debate this for you. I should point out that the views that they express may not necessarily be their own. This is an important academic exercise. It's a serious topic, but I hope we'll also try and have some fun because that's one thing we all need, I think, right now. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first of the panelists. Incidentally, the panelists come from Indonesia, Nigeria, Germany, and Taiwan. So it really is a broad global spread. So proposing the debate, he'll have 5 minutes without any visual aids. After 4 minutes, I'll ring my trusty bell to warn him he has a minute to go. And as 5 minutes come up, I will mute the speaker. But please give a warm welcome to Mr. Jordan Gunawan, Director of the International Relations Office at Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia. And I can see you've got a lovely batik on there. I love Yogyakarta.
Thank you.
And I remember riding a very tiny motorcycle from Yogyakarta to Borobudur.
Ah, that's a good experience.
It was a lot further than I thought, but it was fun. Okay, so Jordan will be proposing the debate. And then assisting Jordan, we're very pleased to have Mrs. Ramatu Umabako, Head of Influencing, Advocacy and Public Engagement for no less than Oxfam in Nigeria. You're very welcome, Ramatu, and I hope you're going to enjoy this debate.
Thank you.
Great.
I look.
Thank you. Yep. And I'd like then to introduce our opposers. From Germany, we have Professor Dr. Felipe de Castro Soero, Head of Digital Business and Data Science Program at the University of Applied Sciences Europe in Germany. So hi, Felipe, and welcome. Great. I can see you're muted, so I'll move on.
Hi, Kevin. Hi,
Dr.
Kevin. Thanks for
Hi.
this warm and personal introduction. I'm really looking forward to this debate and to this exchange of ideas with the colleagues. Thank you very much.
Incidentally, I love your virtual background. Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to, last but not least, assisting Dr. Felipe with the opposition is very distinguished scholar, Dr. Ching-Pu Chen, Professor of Department of Social and Policy Sciences, Chief Global Officer at UNG University in Taiwan. Taiwan's done so
everybody.
well.
Yes,
Hi,
we have.
Ching-Pu. You've done so well during the COVID epidemic, but the sad thing is I can't come there to serve out my quarantine. 14 days lockdown in Hong Kong when I go back. Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Well, anyway, you have the open invitation. You can come anytime.
Thank you. I'm going to get started without further ado. I want to remind the audience, the first thing we're going to do is launch a poll. You can vote for the motion or against the motion, and I will give you 1 minute to do that from now. The polling is launched, and this is the pre-poll. Wow, very interesting this. Yes, they're coming in. Keep the votes coming, guys. It's very tight. Very tight indeed. Okay, I should say that we've allowed the panelists to vote. Felipe has said he won't, but the other panelists could vote if they wish. Okay, we're almost there. Come on, there's 4 of you that haven't voted. I'm sure you can, you have an opinion. Will it be over? Will it not? Still 4 of you that haven't voted. You've probably gone to make a cup of tea. Okay, nice. I'm going to stop now. That's the end of the polling. 1 person got in at the last minute there. All right, guys, I'm going to share the results. Very tight. 53% agree with the motion before we begin, and 47%, no less, disagree. So, you know, it's almost like the US election, very, very tight. We now have to see if you're open-minded and if you're going to be, your minds are going to be changed by our distinguished panel. All right, so without further ado, I am going to go to Mr. Jordan Gunawan. And Jordan, you can unmute now, and you have 5 minutes from now to present the case for the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin, Mandy, and also dear colleagues from Germany, from Nigeria, and also from Taiwan. Before delivering my propositions in our debate today, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jordan Gunawan. I'm a lecturer and also Director of International Relations Office, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Jakarta. So I'm gonna talk about the motions today. Is the COVID-19 pandemic will be largely forgotten in 2022. Let me just start my proposition by dividing the explanation into biological perspective and also psychological perspective. We know, although the COVID-19 shocked the world by its emergence in 2020, actually in Indonesia started in January, which is considered as an unprecedented case that hit the globe as a whole, which caused panic everywhere. But I strongly believe it will be most forgotten in 2022. Even though it is highly contagious and could contaminate through droplets and it indeed spreads so fast in all over the globe. Yet we know that the mortality level, rate is considered far lower if we just compare to other disease or pandemic. For example, like SARS that took place in Singapore a long time ago. As the WHO, World Health Organization, says that human body is designed flawlessly, and it is also in terms of its own protections. Our body has what's called as the immune system, and this immune system protects us from the external factors that could cause us harm. Like just as say a virus want to attack our body, and then the immune system will automatically try to kill and eradicate the virus, so we cannot attack it by the virus itself. For those who are vaccinated, will have a stronger antibody compared to those who are not. Yet to make a vaccine for virus will take considerably a long time. I heard it's about take times approximately 1 until 2 years to make an effective vaccine that could be distributed worldwide. Even though the protection from viruses also by the activations of our original immune system within our body with a specific response, the main protection from the virus by our immune system is by the activation of antibody that will neutralize the virus itself. And then the basic concept of our immune system toward almost all infection that could possibly happen to human body, which will acquire strong antibody for it caused by infection or the vaccination itself. It is why those who have been infected by the virus or those who have been vaccinated will develop a stronger antibody towards the virus compared to those who are not being infected or vaccinated. Once the body adapts to the virus and create its defense system, then it will be no problem with the body, and also the virus cannot attack the body. As what happens to influenza. Influenza was once of a very terrifying pandemic that waged the world and its populations at the time. Yet the human body adapt to it, and now influenza is just a flu that we could get anything, anytime, anywhere, and will not give such of a severe effect. So if there will be another wave of pandemic in the future, since they already have experience and develop a strong antibody, the body will take it better and will handle the virus better than before. Therefore, the recovery rate will highly increase. I believe even though we cannot deny that the case of COVID-19 is keep on increasing and infected many people around the world, I know and I do realize this is such a grim situation and unfortunate for us. But when we also see things from the bright side, taking a look at my previous explanations, many of those who are infected are also able to recover. Therefore, it means that a lot of people also already develop a stronger immune system toward the COVID-19. So as the times goes by, they will be immune to the virus. Aside of biological perspective, as I already delivered before, I would like to also take you, ladies and gentlemen, to look at the psychological side of this COVID-19 pandemic. I read one journal, and according to historians, pandemics typically have two types of ending. The first is medical, which occurs when the incidence and that rates plummet, and the social, when the epidemic of fear about the disease wanes. In other words, an end can occur not because the disease have been vanquished, but because people grow tired in panic mode and learn to live with the disease. We try to make the COVID-19 like our friend, quote unquote. These circumstances, the fear itself appear to have had profound psychological effect on all individuals worldwide. An example for this is where we could.
I'm sorry, Jordan, I've had to mute you. To be fair to everybody, you've exceeded the 5 minutes by quite a substantial amount. So apologies for that. Very passionate arguments nonetheless. So so thank you. I'll release your mute shortly. You've disappeared from my screen for some reason. I can still see you, but I can't see your icon. Anyway, thank you very much for that. Without further ado, I'm going to go to Professor Dr. Felipe de Castro Suero, who is going to make the case, Felipe, for the opposition in 5 minutes, beginning from now.
So thank you very much once again to share these ideas with so distinguished guests and panelists. And thanks, Mehdi Mok, for your kind invitation. And also a very warm thank you to you, Kevin, for coordinating so warmly and so intelligent this debate. I'm really thrilled with the opportunity, and I would like to start with the statement on the COVID-19 crisis as being a major catalyst in enhancing learning processes for many industries and many ecosystems. Actually, with the cut on the mobility and the normal social behavior of society, and with an increasing digitization processes on technologies, this catalyst has been producing an incredible amount of innovation in terms of the way that teachers and students are interacting, a very positive impact with regards to universities and edtech startups, a strong impact on the healthcare and health preventive ecosystem, and the same with e-commerce and very varied global value chains. There are three major attributes that these times within COVID, which are also propelled by technology, as I just explained to you, that one should take into account. The first is the pervasive role of technology. That means that it happens everywhere. Sometimes even in some emerging economies, faster than health and sanitary basic conditions. And the second one is the rate of adoption. Well, you see, this rate of adoption has been increasing exponentially. It took to reach the first 50 million customers, the airline sector, about 67 years. It took 38 years to television to reach the first million customer group. It took Twitter 9 months, and the Pokemon Go game, online game, just a couple of weeks. Well, you may be aware that at its peak in mid-April, the virus caused nationwide school and university and so many businesses closure in their regular format, and impact in 90%, speaking about education as a core example, 90% of total enrolled students through online learning in digital tools, in digital environments with adaptive mechanisms to follow and drive their value experiences. This influenced since April. So in mid-April, this influenced 1.6 billion people globally. So I think this is a strong argument that shows that, if you have your societies and the organizations in their sectors, to have the ability to unlearn and relearn, and actually to reinvent the way that we can iterate each other, and the way that we can set up our work and jobs to be done in the different ecosystems. Even after the pandemic, the new normal is not going to back to the same old normal. And I wanted also to add three other elements besides the rate of adoption, and is the investment. There is an incredible impact in terms of investment. In 2019, the EdTech investment was around 15 billion. In 2020, this investment grew by 15%, reaching around 22 billion. There is a great cooperation across different EdTech startups and universities with industries to reinvent the new skills under these new concepts, to prototype the new competencies and the new jobs ahead. And my last point is the well-funded rounds and also the support of international organizations, governments in Europe, in Asia, in US, and organizations like UNESCO supporting very much this change. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Felipe, for that very erudite opposition to the motion. So we're now going to go without further ado to Mrs. Ramatu Umabako, who's going to speak in support of the motion. Ramatu, you have 5 minutes beginning now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin, and warm greetings to my co-panelists and those attending from home. I feel privileged to be sharing the platform with eminent professors. So it's with all humility I dare to propose the motion that by 2020, COVID-19 will be largely forgotten. I base my argument on a few premises. I also would like to concur with some of the points raised by my fellow proposer in that regard. You know, COVID-19 has changed the way we live, the way we work, and the way we study. It's now called the new normal. You know, COVID-19 came with a lot of changes that have changed, you know, so many things regarding our life, you know, the way we do things, the way we perceive certain incidents and illnesses. So I do believe by 2020, in 2 years' time, it will become the new normal and it will be nothing different or nothing strange again. I say so because if you look at the COVID-19 restrictions and you look at the lockdown restrictions and the protocols, you see that it's gradually changing the way we do things or the way we perceive things like personal hygiene. For example, you now talk about the issue of frequent sanitizing or washing your hands when you touch premises, touch things, when you go out, the social distancing, keeping, you know, away from people to a particular limit. Then also the wearing of face masks and ensuring that your environment is clean. I want to look at it from maybe the traditional, cultural, and maybe religious point of view, coming from Africa. For example, a lot of people complain that in Africa, people don't understand the concept of personal space. Sometimes, you know, we feel very uncomfortable when you're talking to somebody, especially if they're of the opposite sex and they're staying too close to us. But with COVID-19 now and that space, people are conscious. They don't come too close to you when they're talking again. There's a distance, you know. Then for cultural and religious reasons, those of us that work in the workplace, we get it's really awkward or embarrassing sometimes when somebody stretches their hand to shake you. And you have to explain you can't shake or you ignore the handshake. But because of COVID-19 now, people that normally would stretch out their hand, they don't even bother stretching out their hands again. So it makes a very awkward or comfortable situation, you know, very easy for us. So all you have to do is just say your greeting or you do the COVID-19, what do they call it? They call it different names, the Wu handshake or whatever, to exchange your greetings. So in that way, we actually, some of us women actually, we like it and we feel it's okay. And we believe by 2022, it will become such a way of life. We won't have those awkward situations again. Another thing, COVID-19 has come with a lot of blessings, we say, within Africa in terms of so many things. Our government has become responsive in the sense that they have proven to us that it is possible for government to provide palliatives. It is possible for government to ensure that public spaces are kept clean, sanitized, and healthy. Previously, they would say they couldn't do it. There's just no money for it. But now we see that it is possible. And those steps are being taken to ensure we have a free, healthy environment. So I do believe that by 2022, things will be better because it will be a normal way of life. Public spaces will be clean and healthy. COVID-19 restrictions will be in place. Then with the introduction of vaccines and treatments, it will go the way of the Spanish flu, the way of SARS and all other viruses that have come and gone. So just like when we have these childhood immunization packages against smallpox, rubella, measles, and everything, we'll have vaccines also that are compulsory. So with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you that by 2022, COVID-19 will be largely forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramatu. Very, very interesting. Just for a moment, do you think we'll ever get back to handshakes and so on? Do you think that's going to come back?
No, I think it still happens to a large extent, but it's not so prevalent, and I have people saying that after the handshake, they use sanitizer, and which is really awkward, and embarrassing for some. So I think people will just have to devise new social methods of overcoming the discomforts.
Yeah, and by the way, that's an elbow bump, apparently, so I'm told.
Okay, I just couldn't remember what it was.
Trust me, it's better than what they call a Glasgow good morning, trying later to people. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to move to, last but not least, speaking for the opposition, Dr. Ching-Poo Chen. Before I allow Dr. Ching-Poo to begin, I'd just like to remind all attendees, please start raising your hands now to make a point. When you make a point, say who you are and whether you're speaking for or against, and you then have 10 sentences to make your point. It's not a Q&A session, so we're interested in your viewpoint. Okay, Dr. Ching-Poo, I hope you're there. Yes, over to you. You're muted at the moment, Dr. Ching-Poo. You're muted.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. And it's a great pleasure for me to join this distinguished panel and to share my view. Okay, so let me start it. I think that the COVID-19 pandemic will be largely forgotten by 2022. I remember the five-star General MacArthur once said, "All soldiers never die; they simply fade away." Similarly, I think history never be forgotten; they simply fade away till people encounter the same lesson again later on. Yes, people have short memories, but 2022 is too early to forget for the following reasons. Virus can disappear like SARS, yet many people still remember it after 17 years. In Taiwan, we remember SARS, and we know a great deal from that. COVID-19 can become like a flu and stay with us for a long time. Most experts say vaccines are critical element to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, there are some good news of potential vaccine that demonstrate over 90% effectiveness. As Kevin just mentioned, England just approved the vaccine from Pfizer BioNTech to be used, I think maybe as early as this month. This might shed a light to the path of recovery. Yet, we still have a long way to go due to the speed of production and the speed of vaccination. And Germany don't expect to complete the vaccination of the entire population by the end of 2021. And it will be longer in some less developed countries. As US CDC Director Dr. Fauci once said, that life may not be back to normal until 2022. So again, I think that even by 2022, it will not be forgotten. And a mathematical COVID-19 model released by Harvard University, which is my alma mater, research predict that recurrent winter outbreak, as we just see recently, the winter outbreak in many countries, it will come and prolong and intermediate physical distance may be necessary into 2022. and the resurgence is possible as late as 2024. So I think there are many evidence that it will stay with a much longer than 2022. And for other, what do we mean by forgotten? Some things are not forgotten, but submerged into our life. Just like you mentioned, we have a new normal. When you say new normal, which means it's different from before. So I think that's not forgotten. It's just that it's submerged into our life. So even after the pandemic, is our life going back to a life before COVID-19 era? I don't think so, not completely. As someone just mentioned earlier, digitalization process will push forward in many dimensions of our life. For example, education, online learning, virtual learning will be part of people's hybrid learning process. This will remove physical constraints, provide more flexible curriculum, and new form of collaboration among academia. And in workspace, people using physical or fixed location will decrease. More working from home or anywhere with internet access. Online meeting instead of traveling. Of course, travel will come back, but I think that there are more, some will be replaced by more online meeting. So this will make us rethinking the city design. People and office don't need to squeeze into the big city. They can be spread out in suburban everywhere. In short, this will drive our technology and software development further. Another thing is changing perception concept. Face mask. In many Western liberal society, people don't like wearing masks unless it's necessary, like sick people. They like the freedom of choosing their lifestyle. People stay away from anyone wearing masks. Now, more people accepting wearing masks as a part of normal life to protect oneself and others. So in Taiwan, life is almost normal. No university or any organization is closed due to COVID-19. We are a very safe society right now. However, I'm sure I will keep a mask handy with me for a long time. So COVID-19 pandemic will not be forgotten by 2020. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ching-Pu. Very, very powerful summary of the position. With really fronts, what does the word forgotten mean? Forgotten versus submerged, I guess. That's your backstop argument, which I understand. And the other argument is also very well evidenced. Okay, without further ado, remember everyone, at the pre-test stage, it was 53% agreeing with the motion, 47% disagreeing. I have 3 hands up. I'm going to go in turn. The first hand will be Alvaro and Judith Lamy. So I'm going to go to Alvaro first. Alvaro, I'm allowing you to talk. Please.
Hi,
You need to unmute. Good.
Good evening. I'm Alvaro from the University of the Philippines, and my stand is that it will not be forgotten by 2022 because COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted so many social structures and institutions that will continue to create ripple effects in our daily way of life. Disruptions are deeply embedded in almost all our socio-economic, cultural, and psychological systems. We will make necessary appropriations and accommodations for us to be able to thrive to the different changes. But those who will not be able to do so will really be left behind. And that's the sad point and aspect of the pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alvaro. That's very, very succinct and very nicely put. Thanks for your comments on behalf of the opposition, who need some help because they're 3 points behind. And I don't think they're going to call in legal teams like Donald Trump, but nonetheless, they have 3 points to make up. Thank you. I'm now going to go to one of our serial offenders, actually, but she's very erudite, very distinguished professor, Judith Lamy. Hi, Judith. You need to unmute.
Hi there. I should have unmuted myself.
That's all right.
Okay. Great. So I'm Judith Lammy, and I'm a Managing Director of JL Education Consultants, and I'm speaking on behalf of the opposition. So in terms of education, I think students have had the opportunity to experience different types of learning and teaching, and for many, online learning has been an effective, if still challenged and challenging, response to the pandemic. A new context and field of operations has been created, and I believe it's a context that our students are now becoming acclimatized to. I don't believe they will let us go back after the pandemic has started to subside. So I don't think COVID-19 will ever be forgotten, but because it's changed and will change our education landscape forever.
That's very good and a very succinct point there.
And it was
Judy.
less than 10 sentences, because I got told
it
off the last
was.
time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know you're not a mathematician, you see. So
True.
I
Right.
allowed you some leeway.
Thank you.
Anyway, what I was going to say is, so really, what your argument is along the lines of Dr. Ching Pu, where you're saying that you think it won't be forgotten, but it will be submerged.
Yeah, and I suppose the point is it's going to be something that in a way has a long tail in terms of how it's changing. So it's still in the process of changing things, so I think it will change the type of degrees that we have. We've heard before about micro degrees and digital badges. I think that will change. I think recognition of degrees will change, and therefore that is still going to be in the process of changing. In 2022, we'll still have 3-year degrees and 4-year degrees, but I think we'll have much more different types of degrees, different types of institutions, might be government-led or business-led, and that therefore I think will, as you say, put us in a submerged sense, in one sense, but also we'll still be in the process of all of those aspects of change, probably for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I think the other thing that resonates with me is for those families that have lost family members as a result, directly or indirectly, of COVID. Things are never forgotten. You just kind of learn to live on with them. I think, in Dr. Ching Pu's words, submerged under the surface. I've got no further hands up, so I want to go to a few panelists that, and I think I'll go to Jordan initially. Jordan, if you could unmute for a moment while we're waiting for more hands to go up. Jordan, when you say you think it will be forgotten, in other words, in support of the motion, particularly in places like Indonesia, where in some areas people are very closely packed together. I'm thinking of traffic jams actually in Jakarta. Do you think that people will get back to that warmer, physically closer interaction that existed prior to COVID?
I think so. Today, this is the address of your questions. In the maybe for the first month of the pandemic happened in Indonesia, maybe people just feeling afraid. But no, because they are getting tired, just stay at home, and also they just are doing everything like school from home. For example, my wife is a professor at university, and then because she has to stay in the house, and then also have to teach the children, 2 children, and then it so make her very stressed. And then sometimes I have to realize that the parents sometimes very uncomfortable with this kind of situation and very tired actually. And then
actually that reminds me of this morning on the news here in the UK, they interviewed James Blunt, the singer, and they asked him, because the government is advertising for celebrities to demonstrate that the vaccine is safe. I mean, why they need celebrities to demonstrate that, I don't know. But to demonstrate that the vaccine is safe. And he said, look, it's so safe. I'm going to test it on my kids first before I take it myself, which I thought was a lovely. And having been loved them for so long, really, one way or the other, it's going to work. You know? Okay, thank you. I'm now going to go to Ramatu, because I've got no more hands up from attendees yet. Ramatu, I'm very interested in this notion that you were talking about of new normal and what does it mean? And I have to say, I'm a little skeptical. I think we'll forget new normal because other things will become newer. What's your take on that?
Okay. Basically, what my take on it is that we are talking about the new restrictions and precautions as new normal now. But by 2020, it won't be new normal. It will just be a normal part of life. You know, all the changes, because we would have had like 2 years of already adapting to these changes and working our life, our work, and our study around these protocols, you know. So in that sense, I believe that it won't be new normal by 2020. It will just be the normal way of life. So
do you think that we'll stop hugging our friends? And I mean, I agree with you. I think that, you know, that I was trained in a school of postgraduate medicine, a psychologist, and I can honestly say that my hands are always really dry because right from day one, they teach you to wash the things forever and so many times. And some of my friends comment on it and say, are you a bit obsessed with washing your hands? I said, no, it's my training. You know, this is what you do. It's just so ingrained in me. I don't even think about it. But I miss.
Well, we won't stop hugging our friends, but we'll definitely be a bit more selective of the people we hug. Because as it is now, you know, like reflex, you just hug everybody by way of, you know, greeting. But after a while, because of all these restrictions, you'll be a bit more careful when it comes to, you know, and that's why psychologists will say that it has a negative impact. Because now we are going to be, you know, our kids are going to be growing up being a bit socially distant. They won't have those spontaneous hugs from auntie, uncle, you know, and family friends again. So we don't know what the long-term impact will be, but definitely they'll be.
I think it's a very interesting area, and some attendees might want to put up their hands, but I'll go to Felipe in a moment on this area to give fair comment to all the panelists. I'd like to make this point. Over the last 10 years, I've always taken the view we are increasingly becoming socially isolated as individuals. And this has probably been accelerated, obviously, by COVID. For example, we sit in our concrete boxes. We're all in largely concrete or brick and block boxes right now. And we're looking at a plastic box, which is depends on how much money you have, but mine's definitely plastic. Plastic box, which has our computer, houses the technology for our computer. We tend to travel to work in a metal box, the car, where we sit in another concrete box. And so it seems to me that the opportunities for social interaction have been reducing significantly with the advent of the internet and mobile phones, face-to-face social interaction, I mean, and that COVID has probably accelerated that. Felipe, would you like to comment on that, either agreement or disagreement?
Yes, I would like very much to comment on that, and also to provide some sort of a larger scope, if I may, to your thoughts. Actually, I think that there is a dimension, a very practical and dimension in terms of health that one understands immediately due to the complexity in getting the vaccine and the treatments approved, and also access to many in an affordable and in a very fast and organized way that required worldwide significant amount of time. that is a dimension that requires a great deal of orchestration and coordination of health entities, also across other sectors, logistics, and some other less specialized services to assist populations. And not only about development economies, but also emergent and even remote regions. This is one important dimension to think about. And the second one, if I may, Kevin, is
yes, of course.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we obviously we have a tragic memory of our family members, as you mentioned, and that is something that will prevent anyone to forget such. But there is a second or third, there is a secondary or third or tertiary wave here. That is the pandemic COVID-19 put everyone, society, globally, to rethink about themselves, to rethink how we organize our lives, how do we communicate, how do we interact, how are we dealing with sustainability, and how are we dealing with the great questions for the humankind, to progress, to develop. And either we are referring to a very better balance between our job and personal life, or we are also referring to new ways to learn or to manage our resources on a sustained manner. So in my view, nothing is going to be like before. Is not even when everyone is vaccinated and everyone is dealing with another threshold in terms of health standards that everyone is wishing, obviously. Even after that, we are getting the conscious that we need to change things. We need to change the way in which we are grouping our activities and do our tasks at work. We need to recap, and reshape and refocus on education. Obviously, this introduces with digitization much more flexibility and much more innovation and much more different ways to create value in a very balanced way for many parties. And I'm not advocating at all that everyone goes into virtual experiences only, but there will be a new normal here, and that is going across many sectors. And Kevin, because you mentioned about the musician, I also want to go into that particular topic. And I do recall that back. I think this is a bit also a visionary thought, right? Back in 1999, when David Bowie was asked about the impact on the internet, he was ending up this interview saying, well, after you understand the impact of technology in our lives, in how to deal with innovation, you will envision that in a few years from now, musicians and artists will relate to their fans also with digital channels, with streaming platforms, and the music industry is going to change completely. I think that will happen in many industries, and it will not, therefore, forgotten after the 22. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think, again, that's a very thorough and very interesting response to the query. I'd like to go to Dr. Chin-Fu and actually say, Dr. Chin-Fu, do you think we're going to become a more physically isolated society, contrary to the big wave of globalization and travel which preceded this COVID-19 outbreak?
I don't think so. I think that Homo sapien is a social animal. If we cannot get this kind of interaction, we'll get it from somewhere else. For example, there are some people saying that because the people working from home, maybe they have this kind of distancing from their colleagues. However, they get more time with their family. So maybe that their family will become more closer, or maybe that will create more family problems by staying too much time together. Sometimes can be problematic.
Too much of a good thing. Too much of a good.
Yes, but anyway, I think that I still believe that the need for this kind of social interaction, and people will find a way to do it. And I also want to agree with Phillips. I think that even though the COVID-19 pandemic is a tragedy to many people who are affected by the virus, however, it also offers us an opportunity to rethink what is most important thing in our life. And I think in human history, any dramatic event like COVID-19 or a new invasion, people adopt and live on. And what is more important is what we learn from this kind of event. And we have to change our mindset to new normal. But what is new normal? Is it better? I think that's what we have to think about. So that's my view on this.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chingpu. I think some very thought-provoking comments there. There's an old UK saying in English that says, "What doesn't destroy you makes you stronger." That is, of course, provided people have the ability to engage in the metacognitive processes to think through what the challenge has been and how to circumvent it or overcome it. I mean, scientifically, it looks likely that we have at least gone a fairly large way towards that. Socially, I think the jury's still out for me. Like you, I agree that we are social animals, and we will have to find some way. And frankly, I suppose I'm a bit of a dinosaur in regard to this, but frankly, I'm pretty fed up of the virtual meetings that I seem to lurch from one to another throughout the day at the moment. And there's no opportunity for the kind of banter that goes on when you're face-to-face waiting for the meeting to start with one of your colleagues. And I miss that a great deal, I have to say. Okay, thank you. I'm going to go last two people to speak, Benny, and then Judith. I know you've put your hand up as well again, so I'm going to come to Judith to give you the last word, Judith. But first of all, to Benny. Hi, Benny.
Hi, Kevin. Nice to meet you
again. Good to hear from you. You're a serial offender as well. Let's.
You know, Kevin. Frankly speaking, I haven't made up my mind yet. Because
good.
It's not like a black and white option for me. On the one hand, as a part of the management system in the university, I believe, and we currently have an impact that an online classes will be there forever. I mean, we will not, of course, erase our offline classes, but we will provide a new stream as a part of our service to the students. So in a way, the pandemic or the COVID-19 gave an impact that will last longer. And then, but on the other hand, I think COVID-19 is just like a pause in our way of life. Probably we changed our way of life for a certain time, but soon after that we will come back with our own habits, old bad habits. We have a blue sky in the earlier times of the COVID-19, but right now, at least in my town, it's hardly to find a blue sky. We have now again the gray sky. So still couldn't make up my mind. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, that's okay, Benny. And I think probably most of us, including the panelists, will have very kind of mixed views. I like your weather analogy. I'm sat in the UK in the middle of winter at the moment, and I can't really imagine summer. It's really hard to imagine. And then I remember in the summer finding it really hard to imagine winter, and yet it comes. And maybe that's why at the moment I'm edging on the side, personally, I should declare, of although I think the opposing arguments are very powerful, I'm kind of just slightly, maybe 50.009% in favor of the proposition, but because I think human beings are very resilient, and one of the things we're blessed with is the ability to, if we can't forget, at least move on. Anyway, that's very interesting. Thank you very much, Benny. I'm going to go to Judith for the last word, Judith, and I'm just asking you to unmute.
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah,
I'm actually picking up on what you've all been saying, and totally agreeing with Dr. Chen's points, actually. But going back to what you were talking about a little while ago, Kevin, and picking up on Benny's points there as well about time, I think the longer this goes on, and the more that our behaviours and then our attitudes change, the more it will shift, you know, our lives in the future, and therefore in many ways it will never go away, and we'll always remember it. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And just to finish on maybe on more of a personal reflection, really, you know, the more times now that we actually as a family we go out for walks, you know, not always everybody really wants to go, I think sometimes, but there are certainly fewer people saying they don't want to now. But, you know, we go out, we see other people. There's lots more people now that walk in our local park with their families. And I wonder actually whether that personal side of it, the family side, the social interaction side, we're actually maybe getting a little bit better at, because time has gone on. We have to get better at dividing our work and time and our work and family life, because we're doing it in the same place. And I think probably we are getting better at that. And the longer it goes on, you know, the more it will become ingrained in what we do. And that's not in any way a bad thing, I don't think. So there have to be some benefits to the kind of global health pandemic that we're going through. And maybe that will be one of them.
That's great. Thank you. One of the things I think I've learned from this debate is from the speakers and from the attendees that have commented is we're really fortunate. You know, we're remarkably positive and resilient in the face of what can only be described as a global health and financial disaster to this point. And yet everyone's positive. They're looking at what benefit we can gain from this negativity. And I mean, it's probably a Darwinian viewpoint, but the idea that, you know, that's how we're designed, and that's why we survive as a species, provided, of course, to take up Felipe's point, we look after the other species on the planet as well, and the planet itself. So guys, I'm really grateful to you. I've learned a lot. It's been a really interesting debate. Now I'm going to remind you that 53% of everyone out of 15 that voted agreed with the proposition, the motion, and 47% disagreed. I'm going to relaunch the polling now for 1 minute to see what our post-test results show, if anyone has changed their mind. You have 1 minute to vote. Here we go. It's very interesting so far. I actually get it updated live before I share it with you. Very interesting. It's still pretty close, I have to say. You've got, so far 15 people have voted. There's 26 that could vote, so come on, guys. You've got 29 seconds left. I'll give you a countdown in the last 10 seconds, very shortly. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we had one more person vote this time. I'm going to share the results with you. They're significantly different. So the proposition, which actually I was very strongly in favor of at the beginning and only mildly in favor of towards the end, unfortunately has been lost, and it's gone from 53% to 31%. And the opposition, I can confidently declare the winners today, although I have to say I think we're all winners after such an interesting sharing of information and opinions. They have 69% from 47%. So thank you everyone so much for taking part. I want to give a big thank you to our distinguished panelists, Dr. Chingpu Chen from Taiwan, Dr. Felipe de Castro Suero from Germany, Mrs. Ramatu Umabako from Nigeria, and Mr. Jordan Gunawan from Indonesia. I'd like to say thank you to all of you for taking part. Thank you too for Alvaro, Benny, and Judith for their contributions to this debate. And I look forward to seeing you for some of the other debates in the new year. Now, with that said, I am now going to hand control back to my colleagues in Applied HE. I'm making them host. I'll say goodbye to you because I have another online meeting. I just want to say thank you so much for taking part. It's been a pleasure learning and listening to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for your
Peter,
kindness.
you're not host.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Peter, you're now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mandy is sharing screen. So take it away, Mandy.
You see my screen?
Yeah.
Right. Thanks very much, everyone, for the wonderful debate. And of course, Debate Master, for your fantastic contribution. It's always a delight to listen to you guys and also to our audience members from around the world who have made their voices heard. Thanks also to our sponsors, Airlangga University of Indonesia and City University of Hong Kong, for their valuable support. Today's event marks the last Squaring the Circle debate for 2020. However, we have a whole new series planned for 2021, with the first one starting on the 3rd of March. And the theme is the Applied HE Rankometer is a welcome addition to the global rankings landscape. You'll find out more about Rankometer in a minute. For next year, we will have a webinar every month with Squaring the Circle debate and fireside chats every other month all the way to December of 2021, always on a Wednesday evening. And we want to try a new timing, this time at 8 p.m. Singapore time. So please be available on the first Wednesday of every month at 8 p.m. Singapore time. The last session of the fireside chat is in 2 weeks' time on Wednesday, 16th of December. And the theme is religiously inspired institutions' interactions with other religions. As always, it promises to be another insightful discussion. Mrs. Winnie Ely, Partner of Education Insight from the UK, is our moderator. And we have 4 very distinguished speakers from Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines to provide a global perspective. And although the 16th December fireside chat is the last one for 2020, we also have a second series planned for 2021, with the first one starting on the 7th of April. And the theme is Decoupling Research Impact and Education Excellence within Universities for Better Outcomes. Taking turns with the debate, you'll find a debate or fireside chat every first Wednesday of the month at 8 p.m. Singapore time, which is noon GMT. Also scheduled to launch on the 20th of January 2021 is Applied HE's own social media platform called Applied HE Future, the world's first professional social media platform for the higher education sector. We aim to connect everyone from high school to professional career to lifelong learning for the 3 E's: education, employment, and everything in between. Future Phase 1 is designed with higher education leaders in mind and anyone who wants to stay informed about the latest developments, events, and webinars in the sector. As the platform grows, we will also reach out to students, alumni, and employers for internships, research collaborations, and lifelong learning. So yes, the future is coming. Watch out for our pre-launch emailers, which we will be sending out very soon. Also scheduled to launch next month is the Applied HE Rankometer on the 27th of January. This is exactly a week after the future launch, a very busy start to the new year indeed. We believe there are too many different rankings today. One can hardly see the forest through all the trees. So we've come up with a new methodology that will settle the question of university rankings once and for all. Intrigued? Join us for our online launch on the 27th of January, and we'll tell you more about it. In the meantime, do check out our Applied HE Extra News website, where you can submit your institution's news and press releases. You'll be pleased to know that Applied HE Extra News is now in at 5 news. What this means is our readership is growing rapidly, and we can now truly promote you on the global stage and at no charge at all. This is great news for both readers and institutions who publish news via the Applied HE online news platform. Also, take a look at our Applied HE Job Ready rating. The new rating system emphasizes teaching and learning, graduate skills, employability, and interaction with industry. The rating is also non-prescriptive and can be applied to different types of institutions across different sectors, from full-fledged research universities to specialized institutions. Please drop us a line if you would like to learn more about the Job Ready ratings and how it can translate into affordable strategies for global branding and marketing. We're also in the process of launching a pilot to evaluate English as a medium of instruction, whereby we measure the quality and depth of an institution's English language programs, especially for institutions from non-English speaking countries which offer English language degree programs. The Applied HE EMI Ready rating can be a useful internal benchmarking tool, as well as a great marketing tool for the recruitment of international students. So do reach out to us if you would like to join the pilot. It's free, and we still have some open places for certain countries. Another new rating in process is the Applied HE Online Ready rating. Online Ready rating is a response to a client's demand. Clients wish to benchmark the strength of their online delivery system against that of their peers as a basis for quality improvement. And to students, an online ready rated institution is one that delivers online education to its students in a way that is pedagogically sound, in compliance with quality assurance standards, and which is overall an excellent learning experience. This slide gives you an overview of our coming launches and webinars. Launch of Future is on the 20th of January at 4 p.m. Singapore time, and Rankometer a week after on the 27th of January, also at 4 p.m. Singapore time. The first Squaring the Circle debate of 2021 is on the 3rd of March at 8 p.m. Singapore time, and the first Fireside Chat of 2021 is on the 7th of April, also at 8 p.m. Singapore time. Don't worry if you can't remember, we will be sending out our weekly emailers to remind you. And last but not least, as you know, we are the new kid on the block, and we're very grateful for all the support that we can get throughout this extraordinary year, which is why I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge once again all our very supportive webinar partners: City University of Hong Kong, Airlangga University of Indonesia, Hasanuddin University of Indonesia, University of Lahore of Pakistan, Chinese Culture University of Taiwan, Changchun Christian University of Taiwan, Pearl Academy of India, JL Education Consultants, and Education Insight UK. A big thank you for the valuable support given to Applied HE. And also a very warm thank you to all our speakers who have spoken at all our Squaring the Circle debates. Indeed, a very diverse group who were pleasantly argumentative, incredibly insightful, and who, for the most part, kept to their allotted time. Thank you, speakers, and thank you, audience, for sharing your time with us in 2020. All right, thanks very much, everyone. However, the evening is not over yet, so please do not leave the chat room. We want you to experience a networking atmosphere that is as creative and as close as we can get to a physical networking environment. So we're going to open the room now. You can see one another, perhaps say hi, introduce yourself. So please be sure to turn on your cameras, play some music, have a drink. The room is all yours. Over to you now, Peter, to get our social event started.
All right, thank you very much. Let me see if I can play the music. That's the most important thing at a party. Here we go. Oh, right, we should have it now. Yes, so thank you very much, everybody. Where are some of the audience members joining us from? Mustamin, where are you joining us from? Wonderful to see you. I think it's the first time you're joining us, right? I can't hear you, Mustamin. Okay, but anyway, thank you very much for joining us as well. And of course, Benny, who is one of our serial offenders who regularly joins us. You're based in Jakarta, is it?
No, I'm based in Semarang.
Semarang. Okay.
Java.
Okay. Even there, the air is not blue anymore.
Yes.
Too bad.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And we have Haruna joining us. Hi, Haruna. Where are you joining us from? You're muted, Haruna. Let me try and unmute you. Yes. Hi, Haruna. Where are you joining us from?
Malaysia, you said.
Malaysia.
Oh, Malaysia. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Okay, that's.
I'm an international student from Nigeria.
I see. Okay. So you're a fellow countryman of Ramatu.
Yeah. Same.
Oh, fantastic. So doing all right in Malaysia?
Applied linguistics. PhD applied linguistics.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And I also see Talat. Hi, Talat. Thank you for joining us.
You're muted.
Yeah, that's unmute. How does this work?
Can you unmute her, Peter?
Yeah, we've tried. Or I'm trying. But okay, anyway, thank you very much for joining us, everybody, even if you can't speak right now.
Yeah, hope to see you in 2 weeks' time for the fireside chat. And that's really the final one for 2020. Before we do.
And in case we don't see you, Happy New Year, I suppose.
Yeah. Stay healthy, Mandy. Stay healthy, Peter.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay. Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good year to come, okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Best wishes to all. Happy New Year.
You too.
Yeah.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
Bye, everyone.